The new Census of Agriculture is out, and it shows a 7% decline in the number of farms here in the Cornhusker State. The USDA says there were more than 46,300 farms in Nebraska during 2017. The average farm had 971 acres, compared with 1,035 acres 5 years earlier. The report says the total value of egg products in 2017 was $22 billion, down 5% from 2012. The average net income per farm in 2017 was $87,800, down nearly 20% from 2012. The USDA says it's trying to make it easier to hire foreign guest workers. Two new features on farmers.gov can help with visas and farm loans, according to Ag Secretary Sonny Perdue. He says they'll be working with the Department of Labor to streamline the H-2A visa program. It allows temporary agricultural workers to fill gaps not being filled by Americans. Corn farmers continue their push for expanded ethanol opportunities, and some Nebraska growers making their way to D.C. Nebraska Ethanol Board Chairman Jen Tenbenzel and Vice Chair Scott McFeeters were in D.C. this past week talking with lawmakers about why ethanol is so important. On top of speaking with congressmen and senators, McFeeters says it's important to make sure the expansion of E15 doesn't actually allow the EPA to shortchange the amount of ethanol being used across the country.
Do whatever we needed to hold the EPA accountable to not waive gallons after we've allowed them into the market with the E15. Giving the consumer's choice of E15 all year long is great, but if you give with that hand and then take away with the fact that it won't be in the market because it's not required to be there, and the fuel suppliers don't want to have ethanol in the market, they want to have their oil product in the market.
Nationwide, year-round E15 is scheduled to kick off on June 1st. It certainly has been a bitter spring for the nation's farmers. Devastating floods destroyed lands and crops across the Midwest, but farmers face another challenge: the trade war between the U.S. and China. When the White House placed tariffs on Chinese goods last fall, China retaliated, raising taxes on U.S. farm goods. Many factors are hitting America's oldest industry. According to some official projections, there will soon be fewer than 2 million farms for the first time since the pioneers moved west. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo recently visited the heartland to reassure them about the future.
What's your message to the farmers who are feeling this crunch because of this fight between the administration and China?
Yeah, that's not the reason. Remember, there's a long history of China not treating our farmers well. The State Department, for frankly the first time in a long time, has taken a serious effort at cracking these markets open. And sometimes it's tough. Sometimes you got to go break a little glass to get to the right outcome.
Do you feel sometimes that Washington is listening to your worries, your concerns?
I think that it's frustrating dealing with Washington, as probably everybody in the United States would say the same thing.
Beef exports hit an all-time high last year, and we continue to see opportunities abroad. U.S. beef is often seen as the gold standard, but it's more expensive than its major competitors and can be restricted by tariffs. The U.S. Meat Export Federation works to expand markets for U.S. beef. They see growing opportunities in Central America and Africa.
It strikes me that it looks a lot like Mexico did in the mid-'80s. Kind of a scary market, credit and financing and cold chain and all this are scary, but we're seeing signs of the market developing, and it's a billion plus people on the continent, one of the youngest demographics in the world, and we're starting to see that middle class emerge. And today, 4 or 5 years ago, there was zero business going from the U.S. Today, it's our third, fourth largest market on variety meats.
Matching cuts to culture brings value to American producers, whether that's tongue to Japan, tripe to Peru and Brazil, lip to Mexico. The USMEF says $320 per head come through exports. We'll check our planting forecast next, and later more from those bringing hay to Nebraska ranchers.